Green, blue, and gray, that's what we rock. Hawk Tawk, ride with us. Glad to hear y'all dropped in. Hawk Tawk, slide with us. Walt and Dave get locked in, and let's go.
Let's go. It's another week in I'm Dave, and this is Walt.
Hey, how's it going?
Walter, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Can't complain.
Hey, well, you never do.
Hey,
You're just,
who's
you're one of the happiest dudes you know what? I tell Emery all the time, Walt is one of the happiest dudes. He's just always just even keel. And you know what? This last week, I met your teammate, Ben Obomanu.
Yep.
Even keel. I mean,
Great guy.
You guys must have had one of the most mellow locker rooms that 2010, 2012 era. You know?
Yeah.
Well, actually, when did Ben come in?
Ben was earlier. Ben, 2006.
Yeah, so he was there till 12. You were 10 to 12.
Being a veteran during that time.
Yeah. Veteran.
Yeah.
Wily veteran. So,
Yeah.
all right, so let's do the catch up before we bring everybody in. So, we were in Arizona and Ben was there. We'll talk about that. And us escaping with a big win.
Yeah, it was.
But
much needed win on the road.
On the road against, hey, I mean, everyone's saying the Cardinals are the sneak up team, and we pre-sneaked them. So,
yeah.
So
they've been playing more competitive through the years, right? They fell off for a bit there, and they were the bottom tier of the league. They've been more competitive. They lost a close one the week prior to San Fran. They tried to scrap one out against us, but we prevailed. I think they'll get better through the course of the year, but I think I like the trajectory where we're at. Going on the road, those are tough games. You got to get those, and Arizona always plays tough at home.
Yep, that's right. So hey, well, you got to before we bring Ben in and our guest Brad. So Brad, our 12 we've given him 3 shots, and he actually made it this week, but his last name is Knoyer, and he goes it's like destroyer. And so I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that is like a Legion of Boom name. Could you imagine like Brad the Destroyer coming, playing DB, right? That's a great Legion of Boom name. So last week something happened. The mix-up is probably my fault, but I was so looking forward to introducing Brad Knoyer the Destroyer. But so we get to do it this week anyhow. I kind of wiped out the whole fun of it, but you got to tell us how West Covina do. We were out of town, so.
Yeah, I mean, we had a nice victory.
Good.
38-7. Back-to-back weeks, scoring 38 points. We're averaging like 400 yards of offense right now, which is double from last year. So,
wait, and that's wing T, Walt.
Well, we're starting to spread it out a little bit more and throw it too now. Yeah, so we've opened our playbook. Like right now, we're like 55-45. We're pretty balanced now. Last year, we were like 90-10. Yeah, it was. We were gonna get those. We're getting big chunk plays. So
right.
It's high school football. It's funny because it's this is kind of inside into like the football space, right? I haven't missed football too much as far as playing wise, but at being back out there coaching, it's like, dang, I missed it. I want to lace them back up.
Well, but it's not just that. Well, I spent 4 years doing that high school thing too, and those kids following you on your heels, waiting for your every word. And it's like there's that whole other dynamic of kids that are, maybe just searching for something. Maybe their dad isn't around or whatever it is. Man, it is so endearing. I love those freaking kids because you and I and Ben will bring him in a second. All know that's the last time it was really a lot of fun. It was about playing with your buddies you grew up with, and doing that. But then when you've got that special coach, you never forget them, right? And you get to fill that role, and that's awesome.
Yeah, high school football is pure, right? It's not, you're just going out there having fun. You're playing for your teammates and your brothers and stuff like that, and there's no politics and there's no money on the line within that capacity. So just totally different game, and it's a lot of fun getting back into that particular space, though, for sure.
Well, now I've heard though, and that maybe even experience, isn't that NIL trickling down to high school?
Yeah, I mean, it's starting to money is starting to come in here. I mean, you see the different schools that. Oh yeah, I think you see some of the private schools that are probably able to give kids scholarships, right? I mean, you kid live in Moreno Valley and bust them down to Orange County, or Uber
Modern Day, Bosco, yeah.
So I mean, I think kids are constantly transferring because they feel, I have to be at this school to kind of get a scholarship. But I mean, there's scouts, there's ways to be able to evaluate kids, and so some kids get onto these stacked teams, and you have 40 kids on a football team that are getting scholarships, but it's like, hey, how many of those guys are guys, right? I mean, the backups are getting scholarships. Again, nothing against the kid that's in that capacity getting a scholarship and the opportunity to get a school paid for. But but once you get in there, the ability to compete kind of goes away in some capacity. Like there's not that chip on the shoulder, right? So I think we're starting to see that trickle down through college sports and obviously in NFL as well, and other professional sports of kind of guys expecting things to be handed to them, which is kind of like I'm gonna go, oh, I'm here today and I'm gone, leaving your college the next day, and hitting the transfer portal, and so it's not instilling good values and virtues, if you will, within that capacity, which is kind of tough to see.
And Walt, you and I both, me much longer than you've been in the business world, right? Post football, that doesn't transcend, right? You better figure out your happy spot, man, because you can only transfer so many jobs. People start looking at it going, hey, bro, why are you on your third job in 5 years? Yeah, we don't want to hire you. It's a whole different dynamic. It's not what can you do from on the field. It's like, are you going to be a nightmare? And I don't want to waste the time on you. So this is a whole other topic, but you brought up a valid point. But I do want to bring Ben in. So, and Ben's got the professional background going. He got, I think he got a fresh cut on. So, Ben, I do want to preface this. We talked about it before the show. Is that, man, it was such a pleasure to meet you. We kind of bounced around, talked a little bit, and tried to get you involved with the golf tournament there with Nate Boyer, and there was so much chaos going on. Well, I would just tell you, when Ben walked in the room, it just everything went down an octave. He was just like chill, like, okay, we're good, we're doing this. Earl was tugged every million different ways, and Trufant tugged, and Ben was just, all right, man, whatever, we're good.
Easy.
But you probably know that because you guys are teammates.
Yeah.
Hey, Walt knows, man. David was great meeting you in person finally. David and I talked on the phone a couple of times, exchanged text messages a couple of times, man, trying to get together some events and NFLPA stuff. So I'm glad to be able to meet you in person. And same thing, Walt, being able to see you, man. Hadn't seen you.
Are you running the chapter in Seattle for the PA?
I am. So yeah,
okay, nice.
This is my first year being the chapter president here in Seattle. So looking forward to leading these guys up here with some good programming, some activities, and try to increase our numbers too, artist fellowship. So it starts with going to Arizona, like having some of the guys who are already up here, right? So like Dave, like you said, seeing the fellows, man, it felt like two things. It felt like a collegiate, college atmosphere with a pregame. Most of the time I've been to a couple of Seahawks away games, and it's kind of like you go in and I only get there right before kickoff, go to the game and leave. But this time being able to have pep rallies and see fans, man, and interact and tailgate, that made it special to me. And then the second part was having my brothers on the field, right? So having Earl and Roy Lewis and Marcus Trufant, and then seeing some other guys like Eddie Lacy and some other guys that were also around that were Seahawks guys. This was a fun, exciting weekend this past week in Arizona on Thursday. Made me feel really special about being a Seahawks and seeing the 12s out in full effect, taking over Arizona.
Hey, but Ben, we got to give props to, right? That's Kenny Burns.
Kenny Burns.
Kenny's been working that Arizona takeover 15 years, man, and he does it right. I tell people, when you walk in to a Kenny Burns event in Arizona, you think you're in Seattle.
Yeah.
There's not a Cardinals. It's not that they're not allowed in. They don't want in, right?
They don't want in.
No. Yeah. And keep in mind now, Ben, this was a Thursday.
Yeah.
That's a work day, and it was still sold out. It was still standing room only. It was still, think about it on a weekend. We did it last year on a weekend. That place was nuts, bro.
Listen, I got to go back. Kenny Burns, man, he was one of the first people I met when I got to Seattle. As a young 7th round pick, I got drafted Seahawks in 2006, man. I remember there were some 87 jerseys in the stands, but most of them said, Jared Vicious on the back, right? So it's like, all right, I'll take that one. All of a sudden I see these guys, he turns around and it has Obomanu on the back. I was like, what? As a 7th round, rookie, and it's Kenny Burns. Wow. So that's how we've always been connected. Oh, nice. Since my rookie year, man, he decided, and he does it every year. He said he comes back in and tries to find not the most popular guy on the team, not the first round pick on the team, but a guy who he's rooting for to make the team. And so I told Kenny early on back in 2006, I'm gonna make that jersey worth it. And he ended up keeping a 7th-round picks jersey for 7 seasons on the Seahawks. People telling him there's gonna be a one and done kind of thing. So Kenny, man, that relationship's kind of, fast forward almost 20 years later, and I'm in Arizona for the first time at one of these events at the Seahawks Takeover, man. So I was happy to be there. Shout out to Kenny. Shout out to all you guys, all the 12s, the Seahawkers, and all those people that came and made that event work. I look forward to coming back next year, like you said.
I hope you're going to say it, because Walter would have been there if he didn't have a game Thursday night.
Yep.
Yeah, we got to get, and actually what we're working on, and I know you're on the other side of the ball, Ben, but a Legion of Boom deal, something, and we get, as many as we can. It's tough to get all of them, but but that Arizona takeover is just something special. We do it here in LA. We do it, you've been at a few, we've all been at a few on these away games, but that Arizona is just nuts, and we get a lot of support from a couple of the clubs there. So that was a lot of fun. So that was your first Arizona takeover. Now you went to the game. Mm-hmm. Well, you were playing. I mean, you were coaches. Did you get a chance to see the game?
No, I didn't get to see the game, unfortunately. Yeah.
All right, Ben.
So me.
Yeah, let's talk about this. We won.
I got some updates. I'm looking at it. I'm like, okay, we're up, and then I'll hit OT. Then we go OT.
Yeah, it was almost. So, all right, give us your thoughts, Ben. What's your breakdown of the team so far, and then that Thursday night game?
Team so far, man. You think about it going to this first inning, closing out the first quarter of the season. You're right where you want to be, right? You are 3-1, had a chance to win that one game against the 49ers at home. You got 2 quality road wins under your belt, a short week on a Thursday, a long travel in Pittsburgh. Got that on your belt, got some adversity, those things that kind of help build up your squad through the rest of the season. So you've got, winning in the fourth quarter. You've got a blowout win against the Saints. So you got a lot of good things that Coach McDonald's can build on to go through the rest of the season. Thursday night game, I don't know. Dave, I was like you guys. I was watching the game in the stands, feeling good, just like I felt the week before with the Saints. Like, all right, these are the kind of games I like, man. Come back in, take care of business. You can go and throw down some drinks and get some food.
Yeah, people are leaving. People are already leaving. Yeah.
Arizona Cardinals fans were leaving end of the third quarter. They called it quits. I admit I was the same way. I started thinking about, start texting guys, say, hey, I'm trying to go back over to Westgate, trying to figure out the next plan. Go back to Salt and hang out with the buddies. So I was already texting guys that, hey, after party, Salt, come over, Westgate.
Do it.
Then all of a sudden I looked up, man, and now, the really realistic part of the game, offensively, man, like you talked about being an offensive player, former receiver, closing out games. We had a chance there at one point. We were up 20-6 in the fourth quarter with a chance to kick that field goal and make it extend the lead a little bit. Or we had just kicked the field goal to make it 26. And so Arizona has the ball, and I get it. They're playing a different game at that point. They went no huddle, caught our defense off guard, and I just think sometimes with as an offensive guy, I love to go out and just win a game. Have that one drive, you go down. You think about it. I think we were up 2013. We throw the long pass to Smith and Jigba, 60-some yards down the field, and we were getting ready to potentially kick a field goal to go up 23-13 up by 10. At that point, you feel pretty confident. But I think sometimes we get a little lax and say, hey, with a defensive-minded head coach and a defensive-minded team, we're in field goal range. Let's just kick a field goal and call it quits. And as you saw, field goal, you miss a field goal, and the other team gets that good field position, goes down the field and scores and tie the game up. And now we're all biting our fingernails again, trying to figure out, are we going to win? Yeah. So I think we did a really good job of closing out and still overcoming that little bit of adversity. We played well to win. A game like that, man, I feel like it goes two ways, right? If you win, it's a game you build momentum and kind of say we've got some adversity. We've gone through a tough game, losing the lead and kind of letting the team come back, hang around. If you would have lost the game, now it's one of those games I felt you would have been chasing the rest of the year. You would have always came back to, man, we should have won that game in Arizona on the road. Man, we should have won a NFC West game. We had already lost to 49ers,
now 0-2, yeah.
So it's like now, when that two-way street comes to it and we got the W, you take it, you don't apologize for winning on the road, but at the same time, there's a lot of good things we can build for. But I personally think and wish, as an offensive guy, Dave, go down, win the game, let the defense guys sit back and get interceptions and know what's going on instead of playing nervous a little bit of having to watch the clock and manage the game. Offense, go down, get a touchdown there, go up 23, maybe 27-13, and then make it all easier for us fans in that fourth quarter.
Yeah. Well, I remember sitting with Pete. Now, okay, let me just say this. I remember sitting with Pete. Now, that's where things kind of go awry. Is that because when you're recalling the game, I'm like, I remember a stupid taunting call, negating a gain that I thought put us in field goal position, which we missed, and gave the ball to that kid, to that. Look, I'm not a big fan of the Cardinals quarterback. I'm not. But I'll tell you what, that kid has talent and he makes stuff happen. If you open a window, just like so many, these phenomenal athletes, you give them a little bit of a window, all of a sudden they were down 14 and they went bing, 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 bing. I look at Pete and I go, you can't give a team like that hope. Because if we had kicked that field goal, that's 3 scores. Okay? 2 scores is hope. 3 scores with 7 minutes, whatever it was, is hope. You can't give it to them. And doggone it. But to our credit, and I don't know if we could have done this last year, but with 30-some seconds left, we marched it down the field, and we gave our kicker a second chance to redeem himself in 53 yards. And he knocked it right down the middle. And you gotta love when you see a kicker smelling.
Smelling sauce.
That cat's making it, man. I tell you right now. I don't know if he does that every time or not, but I saw that clip, and it was a great win, to your point. But gosh darn it, man, we shouldn't have even given him that breath, right?
Yep.
But now I actually had a thought before we started talking about this week's game. So you guys 2 years together. How much time did you guys spend going like head to head?
Oh yeah, we had some battles. Yeah, it go back and forth. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Sure, yeah.
All right, then take the floor, you guys. There's got to be at least 1 or 2 stories in there. At least 1 or 2.
I mean, it was those are the early days. I mean, especially coming in 2010. Obo was going in to being a vet on the team, and established receiver within that capacity. We had a solid receiver room. Then there's a lot of changes after that initial training camp where we kind of let some guys go that were high profile guys and stuff like that, and gave a lot of opportunity for some guys to be able to kind of cement themselves in that capacity. But I mean, being a young guy coming in and trying to compete with whoever you're lined up against,
That's it.
great routes, good speed, always provide a challenge, and competitor. I mean, that was the thing that Pete was looking for guys to compete. And against like the iron sharpens iron, though. You get better with the guys you're going against, especially if you're competing at a high level. And then it makes the games a little bit easier because you're going against quality receivers and quality guys in practice, and just gives you that kind of sense of confidence as you're going out there, each week in game. And so loved our, it was a good variety of receivers during that time of size. We had Mike Williams that was there, and different size, different speed and quickness and stuff like that. So it was a good variety of guys.
Was Hushmanzada there, TJ?
He was gone.
Start camp, and then they got rid of him. Yeah, him, Deion Branch, like they were there early, and they got rid of him. Yeah.
That was like when they first started having the introduction to these big receivers, right? I mean, TJ was a pretty good sized cat, I think. I mean, I wasn't there, but.
He's like 6'2". I mean,
but now receivers, I look them in the eye. That ain't right. I used to walk into a huddle, Ben, and I was the tallest cat in the huddle. But I will share this. I remember my rookie year, and I'm going up against Jacob Green, who's on the Circle of Excellence. I mean, is Jacob Green, and we're going one-on-ones. We're doing different stuff, and Jacob looks at me and he goes, "Hey, Rook, this is my drill." I'm like, well, then win. Because look, you ain't going anywhere, and I'm trying to make a team. To Walt's point, was there any of those things where you're like, "Hey, Rook, come on," or
hey, Walt remembers? Paul, you remember what was saying? All the battles that we had, right? Walt remembers, man. Our guy Jeremy Lane, right?
Oh yeah,
out of my lane, man. Well, I don't know if you remember this practice, man. Training camp. We had all these veteran receivers, right? And we had a bunch of scrappy, hard-nosed, young the Legion of Boom wasn't Legion of Boom yet.
Right,
They were putting it on, and they were dominating practice, right? And we hated it from an offense standpoint. So Walt's out there, Cam, Earl, you got Jeremy Lane, you got Byron Maxwell, you got a whole bunch of just names that were all studs, and they're all like big, long guys. Like even Walt, man. Walt had the shoulders and he has the long arms. So it's like they always wanted to press our one-on-one drills.
We had no choice. That was like a mandate. If you played off, that's why we're talking about with True was on here last week, and True was a off corner and the great technician, within that technique. And so now he's being forced to play press, which that was like Pete's thing. Like if you weren't pressing, like you might as well not even be on a team type of situation. So you really had no choice but to get up there. Yeah. So look, I know drive you guys crazy.
Look, at training camp, there's one play, all the defensive backs, man, were all like press man, being physical, taking on. And this was like young. So this is like Doug Baldwin was like a young cat. Yeah. Jermaine Kearse is young. Ricardo Lockett, all those guys are young. I'm a veteran guy. So I remember seeing like, Walt and you guys, I don't know if you guys remember, you were hyping up like all your rookie cornerbacks, like come in and be physical. So Jeremy Lane was a rookie guy. And I remember, seeing you guys, doing the jump across the line of scrimmage, and they got guys jammed up, receivers, and I was getting frustrated because like Dave, you said, I'm still trying to make the team again. So I'm like, hey, I'm here for business. I don't want to play the games. I don't want to like jump across the line of scrimmage. Let me do a clean release from my route, get the ball back, and like check the box. I'm
check the box. Yeah.
So I remember Jeremy Lane. You guys hyped up Jeremy Lane to come up and say, hey, Jeremy, get him. And I told Jeremy, I said, hey, Jeremy, I'm not in the mood, man. I know you want. I know they got you hyped up to, stagger stance.
Jeremy's like he's like a 5th, 6th round pick, from a HBCU school, small school guy, and just kind of encourage him, like, go out there.
Look, he's trying to make the team, but little does he know, I'm a veteran guy, but I'm trying to make the team too. Like, hey, I'm not being comfortable. Like, don't embarrass me. And I remember, well, I don't know if you remember. He came in, and I think it may be like a running play. So remember, he had some beef in like 101s, and they carried over to like team drills. And I had told Jeremy, I said, "Hey, Jeremy, I'm telling you right now, if you touch me, I don't want to be touched the rest of the day, the rest of the camp. Don't touch me, all right? Don't block me, don't push me, don't touch me." I just gave him those instructions, and sure enough, I think y'all, Walt, man, hyped him up on the sideline. Definitely was a little bit of a Sherm and definitely Earl hyped him up on the sideline and told him like, "Hey, get him." So come up, one of the plays, a run play, Dave. Run play. Run play receivers. We're like this.
You patty cake. Yeah, patty cake.
He came up to me and he like grabbed me and like jammed me up. And I remember I told my young receivers, like, hey, the next play, I'm gonna punch him right in the stomach. Like, I don't care what the play is. I'm a pass play, run a play, I'm punching him in the stomach. Sure enough, they call height. I'm a smart guy. Helmets, break your hands. So, top of the chest, shoulder pass. But stomach, that's all exposed.
It's all exposed.
So I came in, I remember they call height, and I, boom, gave him a big one. And I told my receivers, because I was like, hey, they're going to fight, all right? It's going to be a fight. Let's go in. So come in next play. They call height. Jeremy Lane does what he does. And as soon as he grabs me, bam, I start trying to like punch him in the stomach. All the Legion of Boom young cats come off the sideline. All the receivers come off the sideline. Now it's this big melee. And Walt knows me, man. I'm a fighter. I'm an instigator.
Yeah.
But some kind of way I found myself like standing watching the whole thing go down on a pile. You know how it is, Dave. The guys who start the fight never really are the ones fighting. Everybody else who got other, aggression they're trying to get out, they're all fighting. So I remember that was my one moment when I said, hey, this Jeremy Lane kid, man, he's gonna be the real deal, man. He doesn't care about your status. He doesn't care about like getting to a fight. Pete loved the whole thing of the Legion of Boom, like taking it for themselves. Our young receivers, realized, hey, you can fight. You can come and fight for yourself. You can come back in and like, don't have to let these veteran guys like push you over. The same way that they're gassing up Jeremy Lane, we need to hype up our young guys, where Kearse and Doug Baldwin, those guys end up coming to turn on too. So that was like one of my defining moments, Walt, trying to figure out during that fight, trying to figure out, all right, well, I'm friends with Walt, okay, so I don't want to fight him. Don't want to fight Kearse.
You're trying to figure out who you gonna tussle with.
Jeremy Lane. There you go. He's gone.
So Ben, I knew there was something about you. I just knew. Now I've shared this story before. Hey, Pete, before I start the story, sometimes we get going. We got to bring Brad in because we want to bring Brad in to share some stories, ask some questions of the guys, and talk about when he became a 12. So Ben, we always bring in a 12 that a fan of the game, and I'll make this one brief because I've shared the whole thing. But when I was a rookie, it's so amazing. it was like the last day of camp, and Chuck's watching us, right, doing one-on-ones. I'm going against Tony Woods, who is one of our best pass rushers. And so we do one, I do okay. Chuck goes again. So we line up, go again, and Tony gets me. Chuck goes again. Well, Tony's getting pissed because Tony's a vet, right? Yeah. Well, I'm like, okay. So I get him. Chuck goes again. Tony's actually cussing Chuck, like cussing at him. And he goes, and I'm stuck in air. He's stuck in air. Now, I don't know if it's the fourth or fifth one, but I just tackle him. Just flat out, just because Chuck wanted to see what my medal was. You know, what's this rookie gonna do, right?
Yeah, what's the tough guy?
And I just freaking just grab him, and the exact same thing happened. Tony just came up swinging. Tony was pissed that he had to do that. He came up swinging. We're both swinging, and out of my periphery, every O lineman grabbed a D lineman, and headline in the newspaper: rookie breaks camp with brawl. we were the same. We were one of the same, brother. Good job.
Yeah, fights make a healthy fighting training camp, right, Walt? You gotta have those.
Sometimes you do gotta have them. But I mean, it makes the teams. It actually brings everyone together though, because there's like at the end of the day, you go off, you leave it on the field. You know, you kind of see what type of person everyone is. Even in that little skirmish or melee there. And like for Jeremy, you got to see his character. For the young receivers, it kind of put them in their own too, because like Doug's free agent, Curse was a free agent in that capacity. So these guys are trying to prove themselves too, and so you kind of see what type of character, and now they're able to be a little more tough. And it was just battles. And I think that's why we end up being the type of team through those next following years after 2012 is because you had that kind of level of competition and grit amongst each other within that capacity.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, so guys, let me introduce you to Brad Knoyer. So and I don't. Yeah. Well,
hi guys.
See, we have these discussions pre show, and I always forget what the heck we actually talked about. But you're supposed to, Brad. We kind of mixed signals, and I'm sure it was my fault. Didn't get the link, whatever it is. But I was so looking forward to introducing Brad Knoyer, the Destroyer, right? Because he goes, Dave, my name is pronounced like Destroyer, and because we had Marcus Trufant on, we had Walter, and I'm thinking, man, what a great Legion of Boom name. If I play DB, I want to be Brad Knoyer, the Destroyer, and be part of the Legion of Boom. How's that for introduction, Brad?
Hey, I love it, man. And I love listening to you guys tell all your stories, man. I could sit here and listen to it all day. That's awesome.
And then Ben would have punched you in the gut, and then
then the Destroyer would have come out.
You hold the story.
You got to switch it to offense, man. Help us out then.
I'll tell you how I got that name. I was a basketball player growing up. Didn't have much athletic ability, but I could rebound pretty good for the day. And it was in junior high, and we were all signing this like poster, right? And so I put Brad Knoyer, and this one friend of mine, he's like, "Hey, I got a nickname for you. Let me write it down." I was like, "I don't know about that." It's like, you haven't even told me what it is. What's it going to be? And he's like, "Knoyer the Destroyer." I'm like, "You can write it down. You can write that down." I'll take that one.
Where are you from? Where are you coming from?
I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, so grew up in Oregon. Spent a little time, like when I was really young, 4 years in Seattle. My dad was a pastor of a church, and so he bounced around a little bit. And then we ultimately settled in Hillsboro, Beaverton area of Oregon, if you guys are familiar with that, the western suburbs of Portland. And then went to college in Indiana because basketball was my sport, so I wanted to continue playing a little bit after there. And I'm so glad I did, because if you know anything about Indiana, they're a basketball state. So I played a little NAIA school there for a couple of years till my knees went bad, but then knew I was not an East Coast guy because you had to stay up way too late to watch sports. And I just liked, and I wanted to move south because I was sick of living in the north. So I set it up in Southern California here and been here since summer of '97. I live in Huntington Beach now.
Nice.
Yep, you've been hanging out with us at our watch party. So I'll tell you, Brett, I was a basketball player. I actually sucked at football. And at San Diego State, I lettered in both sports.
Nice.
Yeah, 1 year. And I had 4 points, 4 fouls in 4 minutes against UNLV. And then the rest of the story goes sideways. We were there for the Vegas tournament. We beat Florida, and well, I missed the plane. I'm not going to tell the whole story because it's a long story and it's not good. You can imagine how I might have missed the plane. All right, and this is exactly what happened. But I had a little bit of a basketball career too. I love basketball. Basketball is my favorite sport. I just happen to be big. So, So when did you become? So you then grew up a Seahawks fan?
Oh yeah, I grew up a Seahawks fan. I mean, like I said, my dad is a pastor, so it was like every Sunday we were at church. Couldn't miss it, and then come straight home and watch the Seahawks plays. The 10 o'clock games when they traveled back east, couldn't really see those, but all the home games and the 1 o'clock games, we were all there, all around the TV, just watching the Seahawks for as long as I can remember. My dad's side of the family, most of them still live up in the Seattle area, so we've got a big family chat when the Seahawks games come on and phones blowing up. And I've met a number of other Seahawks fans down here, so it's just been a real good camaraderie thing to meet people. And the Seahawks are at the core of all of it.
Well, it's always fun to learn when the 12s became 12s, right? There's the ones that came from 76 and been on board the whole time. There's the ones that jumped on board in 2014, and for good reasons. And it runs the gamut. But what's always fun to hear is like some of your favorite Seahawk memories, and of course, any questions because if you've been a Seahawk fan forever, you watched both these cats play for a long time.
Oh yeah,
and you saw me in 2 newspaper articles for making the team and getting cut. So that's all you saw me doing. But anything you've got for these guys, that's why we're here.
Oh sure. So, Walter, and Ben, in those days when the Legion of Boom and stuff were coming on, and just all the competitiveness and all the changes that Pete was making, I think he had 200 some odd roster changes that 1 year when he totally changed it over. It's just I heard you guys talking a little about it, but what were those practices like when those guys were? Because they were coming, you guys are all, everybody was hungry, right? There was no guaranteed spots.
Oh no! But my rookie year, I mean, then first time, obviously being in Seattle, getting the experience of what the NFL is, going into, and I tore my ACL, MCL, PCL my senior year, so mini camps and OTAs, I didn't really get to participate. So my first live action was during training camp, and it was the last year of two-a-days, the real two-a-days before the collective bargaining came in. But I remember going through that, 3 days there.
Just saying.
Dave likes to brag. They had 3 days.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. But yeah, so going, during this training camp, and then, you're seeing if you're making a team, and, you're waiting for, you come back that next week after the final cuts. And I don't remember this, they cut half the team.
Yeah.
It was the craziest thing that I ever experienced. I was like, this normal? we could have been walking around with name tags. And for Pete, it was he was trying to find, I guess, the right personnel. I guess he was trying to find, guys that were, that had a little bit chip on their shoulder, that were looking to compete and not, kind of live and have they were made. And I think that was kind of the foundation of, guys that were, later draft picks, competing for opportunity to play, guys that were probably on their second, third limb from different teams coming into the organization, and try to have something to prove. And I think that was kind of the foundation of leading up to those teams that were going to be dominant, in that 13-14 season there, of guys that just had something to prove. The fierce competitions that we had, amongst the receivers and DBs out there, and, the confidence that kind of instilled, within the different groups. And then, which kind of you got to see on Sunday of how physical that we played, and, games that looked like we were, weren't going to win, and we come back and win in the fourth quarter. Just the resilience. And I think that just was kind of a testament to the coaching staff of, bringing guys that were, fourth and beyond draft picks that had something to prove, and really made a core foundation of what the Seahawks were. And I know Ben can see it because you went from You had Holmgren, right? Your rookie year?
I had Holmgren for 3 years, had Jim Moore for 1, and had Pete for 3.
Yeah.
So ran the gamut.
I'm looking forward to Ben hearing your perspectives. For Walt, he didn't know any better.
Yeah.
He was like, okay, welcome to the NFL. This is what happens.
Yeah.
Ben's going, bro, I already did this. It's time for me to chill and do the rest of my time. But you came into this chaos, man. What was that like for you?
Oh, it was Walt's being nice, Walt. It was chaotic. I remember, times coming in when we would see jersey numbers, like Walt said, when you first early on, they started doing it now. You put the sticker on the helmet, a piece of tape on the helmet with God's last name to figure out who's who. But I remember like going into camp and we would, still had to somewhat game plan a little bit. Like, who's who. You had and at that point we still had the jersey numbers, right? The 50s were linebackers, 40s, 50s were linebackers, the DBs were 20s and all that, right? And I remember we would see guys come in and we were like, hey, who was number 47? And we would like get our phones out and try to figure, hey, coach, who's 47? Is he DB? Is he linebacker? What is he? Like, oh, and our coach like, I don't know. Pete just saw him this morning. He had a trial this morning, and he's already out here practicing very next day. It was so weird that we would have guys come in, even like receiver, right? It was weird. We would come in and we have meetings, and we'll have new guys come in, and it's bad, but some guys come in like, hey, after long practice, they just got signed to the team. They probably worked out the day before or something. They've been on the team 2 days, and maybe dropped a pass or two, and they would come in and like, hey, let me get you guys' number, man, so we can, figure out where you guys, play video games or do something like on an off day. Yeah. And we all look to each other and say, you ain't gonna be on the team tomorrow anyway. So,
it's a tough one, yeah.
Like you need to focus on like trying to make sure
you comfortable, homie.
Right?
Yeah.
It was that kind of team, man. I remember, and this is like the last one I remember as a player, as a veteran player too, Dave. I remember we were so upset, Walt, man, because Pete kept bringing all these USC, California, Pac-10 guys. I'm like, hey, man, if I see Lindell White come in his locker room and actually gets a spot on the roster, I'm going to be pissed off, man. Like, he's bringing in tight like all the USC greats, right? Like
it was the Pac-10 Seahawks at one point.
I was like, hey, I wish my college coach ever took a head coach in an NFL job. I hope he does the same exact thing and like brings in all his former players and gives all of us a shot to play. And it wasn't just like USC players. It was like what Walt said. It was guys that Pete recruited. It was guys that he had known from around the way. It was like, all right, So a little bit of insider knowledge. We were rooting for the other guys. It was like, all right, you gotta
SEC guys,
get some SEC guys, some
athletic conference guys.
I'm like, these guys are just as good. But hey, when we came in and got Pete, you remember they would have like and Dave probably too. They had the early morning trials for the guys who were trying to make the team. So you come in a little early, like some of us Walt rehab and stuff, and you'll see guys running 40s and doing drills, Brad. And you come in and say, all right, and we can kind of get a sense of, all right, who's going, show up at practice next day. My barometer was if before their tryout, if they come to Pete Carroll and Pete daps them up and gives them a hug and have a long conversation. Oh, they're Pete guys. Pete already knows them. Like they're already Pac-12. Like he recruited them out of high school kind of thing. They already got the edge up. So that was our biggest thing. Like, hey, as long as Pete doesn't bring in a receiver, even though he brought in Mike Williams, as long as Pete doesn't bring in like a bunch of his old receivers, I got a chance. I got a shot, man. As long as he doesn't bring in.
It gave him second life, right? Because he wasn't even really in the league at that point. Mike Williams was. Yeah, he wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah, he was out of the league for a while. Mike came back in, dominated too. Had actually really good season that one year. He actually put some numbers up. So that's how it was.
That was an interesting dynamic though, because it was like, hey, you went to Arizona State. You was over at UW. You was over here. It was like, he was just bringing in guys that that he was semi-familiar with. He watched film on these guys in college, preparing for games. He kind of seen the need, so it was kind of like a shortcut of trying to sift through all this tape, all hundreds of guys. I could just go bring the guys that I played against the Pac-10 that had some potential. Let's see how they fare, within this organization.
Well, now be honest. Share your Pete story about how he's seen you on film and knew who you were, right?
Going into it, or what?
Yeah, going into the draft.
Huh?
I thought
we had our interesting battles.
But he didn't share right away. They had to coax it out of him. But being a Pac-10 kid, Pete had seen him on film, and And he was one of the guys you were cheering against.
We've had our moments. P and I, we've had our moments. So. Yeah. That's just the Oregon SC thing right there. That's what that was. And then getting drafted, he's like, no, there's no more Ducks, no more Trojans, just Seahawks. So I was like, hey, put it to bed for a little bit. We'll figure this thing out.
Another thing I want to know from each of you guys is, like, when did you have like a moment where you like, I can do this, I can play at this level against these players? Did you have like an epiphany moment kind of like that for each of you?
I'll go first. And actually, I shared it. Getting back to the concussion issue, whether it was pregame or where we're talking is, when Jacob Green, perennial All-Pro, Circle of Honor guy looks at me and goes, hey, DeRocher, this is my drill. I'm supposed to win. And I'm like, well, then win, bro, because I'm trying to make a team. And when you have a veteran of that stature, or that, that status saying, hey, this is my drill, I'm like, well, then I'm winning, right? And I'm blocking the best guy on our team. And that was something, of course, now it had to come to completion. And it's funny, I'm sitting there with the other offensive linemen. They invited me to come out to drink beer with them, after the second practice, before the third practice. Well, it was a walkthrough, but it was still all right. So, but of course, my job was to get the beer. But when the other guys invited me and nobody else of the rookie O lineman, that was another indicator, another thing. And so there were those signs like, okay, I'm doing better than most. And Ben, you're a 7th round draft pick. I was a 12th. I would have not even been drafted in today's NFL. So to be even considered and to be brought into the fold before the final cuts, that was there were some of those signs. I don't know what that was like for you, Ben, in 06.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like I said, even going back to my college days, right? I was like a top recruit out of high school, and I went to Auburn as a freshman and started my first ever college football game.
Wow.
Playing high school early, so I was always like a top recruit. But some kind of way, as most of us feel, I fell in the draft, right, and failed being a 7th round pick. So I remember for me, it was like trying to get reassurance that I am a good football player, because it does something to your confidence when you get drafted late, and no matter even if you're a 2nd round pick, you feel like you should have been a 1st round pick, right? Everybody has a chip on their shoulder, and Pete does a really good job of getting that out of players. I think my first couple of years, it wasn't like that when I had Mike Holmgren. It was I came to the Seahawks the year after they had lost the Super Bowl to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Right. So you had a veteran coach in Mike Holmgren who was all about, for me, he was all about getting back to the Super Bowl and winning it with his guys. And us rookies, we weren't his guy. So that first year was kind of like, you guys fall back. Hey, I got my veteran players. I know what we're doing. We're going to run things the same. We keep the program the same. So I don't have a place for you young guys. Even our 1st round pick that year was Kelly Jennings. Walt and Kelly Jennings, I don't think he saw the field. Like, he played sparingly and played special teams, and he was a 1st round pick of the Seahawks. He didn't play that much. So the rest of us were like, well, we're not getting in. So for me, Dave, it was my 2nd year. The 2nd year for me was when, I started seeing the team, to your point, Dave, start game planning a little bit. They recognized my speed, my skills, my, body size. So it wasn't that I was the starting receiver on the team at all, but it was the fact that they came in, the team knew it, but then also the coaching staff knew it too. They would come in and say, all right, well, we got a play we're going to put in. We know they're going to see our, 6th receiver, 5th receiver on a roster and not pay him any attention. We're going to let you be in, run a corner post. We're going to play action. They think you come in and block. We're going to play action, throw it deep to you. So I had like special plays that were like Ben's plays. And that's what made me like get my confidence back and say, I can compete too. If I ever get a chance to start, I'll be okay. But it was just the fact that, it takes a certain amount of confidence and something to flip the switch to say, you're just as good as your teammates, all because you started off a little differently than a 1st round pick and an undrafted pick. At some point, all that, bears, comes to bear on the field, and you just have a good product and you just play football. And that's finally 2nd and 3rd year were the moments when I actually got a chance to just play football. Back to the same football that we played when we were in high school and we played growing up. Now it became football all over again, where I got a chance to just play and not worry about looking over my shoulder of getting cut all the time.
Yeah, I think for me, what's up?
I was just saying, for you, Walt.
Yeah, I think for me it was like I said, I'm coming off the knee injury, and fall in the draft. Still had the confidence. that I put a good body of work together, but then you look at the business side of things and look at that, now you're damaged goods within that capacity, and not having the opportunity to go through OTAs, go through the rookie mini camps, go through the regular mini camp. I'm starting behind, and guys are able to compete for a spot. And again, not knowing that there's I guess it could have been a place for me being on the PU, the physically unable to perform list, because I'm coming off the knee within that capacity. Finally getting there, I had this big old knee brace on my knee, playing corner, and the technique that Pete implemented, especially with the press technique, I think helped me out to kind of slow the game down a little bit and really focus on the technique. And the biggest thing for me was I was always a fast guy. Can I still run? Am I able to change the direction? Put a lot of work in the off season, getting back into decent shape. I mean, I wasn't like my normal self. So I was probably 9 months from the knee injury, going into that summer camp. And I think for me, the aspect of realizing that I can compete even in this particular state was doing one-on-ones, going against the receivers. Because the team aspect, you can kind of get away with it, but one-on-ones, it's like all eyes are on you. Everyone see out there. There's no pass rush. They can run whatever route that they want to run, and there's like go out there and compete and make a couple plays. It's like, okay, well I think I can go do this. And then obviously then the preseason games come around, and now you're out there live bullets and really being able to play it. I was returning punts too, so I had a couple punt returns in the earlier preseason games, and was able to make some plays and some tackles, and then the confidence just slowly started to grow from the experience of I can come out here and compete at this level. And the biggest thing is just having belief in yourself, but also just believing in the process, believing in the work. And I think with different experience from me and Obo coming in as rookies, to where Pete was just looking for guys to compete. That was kind of his motto. Like, he didn't care that you were a veteran or if you were a first rounder. It was a true sense of the best guy willing to compete is going to win the job. And then as guys started to get bigger contracts, then that kind of goes off the board. Now you're having a high investment in the players. But I mean, also Marcus was Marcus, but that right corner spot was pretty open. Eventually the other safety spot came open. The nickel spot was open for competition. You see some of the linebackers coming in and out, open for competition. I mean, even the receiver room was all open competition, especially after they got rid of TJ and Deion Branch there. It gave three spots just opened up for guys to be able to go compete. So I think that was a very unique aspect to where you can probably find veteran coaches that get stuck in like, I'm only going to play veteran guys. I'm not going to play rookies. Rookie guys have to earn their keep. And I think I like that aspect of what Pete kind of brought in. It kind of instilled a different level of confidence in the younger players of like, hey, you guys can go out there and compete. And I think we had great veteran leadership as well that were able to hone in on that too, because there was a lot of similar and relatable aspects of their own personal experiences of like just overall encouragement too, though. Obviously everyone is competing for their job, competing for a spot to play. But I think there was a good mix of guys that were like, like Roy Lewis. Roy was one of those guys who was like, hey, him and I are competing for the nickel spot. He's confident in his ability and knowing the defense, but he's like, hey, I help you out with the plays, whatever. And so like, but there's also some guys that was back there too. It was like, hey, I'm not telling you nothing, young guy, because you're not telling me the spot. Yeah. There were those guys too, so it was kind of a very interesting, experience of like, you just have to, you have to put it on tape, you have to make the most of your plays. And, the always compete thing does stick out, because like, as soon as you ease up on a play and don't go hard, hey, that's a little ding on you right there. You didn't go full tilt and you could have made the play. This other guy went full tilt and tried to compete and tried to get the ball out, but he might have caught it, but he went to the last play. He just didn't give up on the play. That's how close it was, I think, in those earlier years, to where it was like Pete just wanted, I think a lot of those guys that came from, the SCs and the other Pac-10 schools, I think especially for the SC guys, the SC guys got real comfortable because they thought they were back at SC. And they thought they had it made. And the difference thing between, college where you can't cut guys, here you can get cut. And I think those guys, didn't really realize, that we're not back at SC anymore. And P was like, well, we're not competing. You know, these guys are competing, and so that was like a just interesting perspective. Yeah.
So I'll tell you, Walt, and listening to you talk, so two things came up to me. So one was the name Roy Lewis, which Ben, is with us in Arizona.
Yep.
He was with Marcus Trufant and their side of things. There's this dynamic that we're all learning. Former players, we're all brothers, right? We just show up when we're invited, and we do the best to promote the team, and we have our brotherhood. But then there's people that do things that don't always see eye to eye. But you know what? We just all got together, had a great time. And Roy, actually, I didn't know, Walter, that you guys were together and were competing because he wants to come on the show. Yeah. That's going to be great to listen about that competition. I mean, you guys went head to head, but he and Roy, right on the back end, I'm sure we'll learn more about that.
Roy
I have to ask you something.
Yeah, Roy was like a big brother. I mean, he was a mentor. I mean, that's just the type of person he is. Though. That's just the character he is, though. Like, some guys were,
so he's older. So look, we get to tease him about that. Yeah. Yeah. So Walt's real quick to tell everybody how young he is, Ben. He's real quick.
Hey, I mean, Roy was a couple years older. I mean, he came, he was a couple years, but he was like a big brother though. Like he was like he knew he was going to be. Yeah, he was a premier special teams player in the league. So I mean, for him, he was very comfortable. Like I'm not going anywhere of how much I contribute to special teams in that capacity, and then obviously I can go play nickel and I can go play corner, within that situation. So some guys just didn't play special teams and we're just more on, hey, we're competing. Me and you are personally competing for this third spot right now. That was Josh.
We were all taking a picture in front of one. We were all taking a picture in front of one of the events in Arizona. It said 12th man, and I thought it'd be a lot of fun to hang out with the guys, and doggone it, Trufant didn't say, yeah, we're a bunch of older guys. You go, I'm old. He's older. He pointed at Roy. And then he's older. And maybe it was whatever. Everyone's older. And then he pointed at me and goes, and he's way older. I'm like, come on, man. Why? They can see the gray hair. You don't need to tell them. I mean, it's obvious. But hey, all right, Ben, before I forget, because I always forget. Whenever Walter talks about catching punts, because I have much respect for any guy that sits back there and looks straight up while missiles are running by him to catch a doggone football. Did you ever catch a punt?
I did. Well, you remember I called punts in the preseason too.
Yeah.
All right. That's a different breed of man right there, man.
Look, punt return is one of those things, man. My coach used to always tell me, and when I came up in college, I caught some punts in college too. He was like, "Hey, you get one look. Like, you're looking for the ball, you see the ball kick. You don't get to keep going up and down trying to look at. No, you look at the ball, you find it. You get one look. After that, you got to trust your guys, and that's really what it's all about. You trust your jammers on the outside to make sure, hey, at least give me a chance to catch the ball. Don't let me get blown up. And if I do, say something. Ben, watch out, like something, right? Yeah. Hey, look, well, I don't know if it was you. I always kept like a spotter for me when I returned punts in the preseason. I had a spotter. So this is a guy who on the sideline who I listened for his voice, and he was always like the guy that says, "You're good, you're good." So I was listen for that voice to be my second set of eyes, right? Okay. And I remember one preseason game, and it was trying to make a team, right? So now I'm at this little point of, all right, do I catch it? Do I field it? Do I try to make a play? And I remember it was late in the game. We were playing Minnesota Vikings preseason game. It's on the 10-yard line. Put your heels at the 10, and if you go back, fair catch it. I was trying to make the team, so I was trying to get a 90-yard punt return. This is literally what's going on in my mind. So I remember on the sideline, I had my guy, fair catch it. And I was like, had already told myself before I went out there, I don't care where the ball is kicked, I'm going with it. And I caught it, and I only got 15 yards. But I remember, in my mind, I was like, hey, man, that could have been awful, man. I could have got blown up. That was my only way I ever caught punts. I'm like, hey, I had a fellow receiver and maybe the assistant special team coach to stand right there, all the way back, out of the coaching box zone to sit back and be that voice, that one person as loud as it can, fair catch it, or either you're good.
You're good, yeah.
That was it.
Yeah, you have to have so much trust in those gunners, or in your jammers, those corners. You're gonna have so much trust in those guys that they're gonna have your back. And the guys in the box, usually they don't get there quick enough, and you usually have time to you can make one guy miss. It's usually the long snapper, but those gunners come flying down there, and you make sure you get that hand high in the air.
Yeah, worst case scenario, fair catch it.
Big Ben. After I left Seattle, I played a couple years in the World League. I was in Montreal. We're playing in Wembley Stadium, and here's 2 words you don't want to hear from your left tackle. Watch out! I'm yelling at my quarterback. Watch out! Oh, I remember yelling at him, and you don't want to go pick him up, and his helmet sideways, and his chin's bleeding. I'm trying to tell you.
Try to tell you.
All right, hey Brad. Before we get going, you know what? You have some great questions because these guys. I mean, we've been just chatting.
Oh, I could do this all day.
Favorite Seahawk moment. Hey, favorite Seahawk moment, Brad, for you.
My favorite Seahawk
other than
moment?
The Super Bowl. Yeah.
Oh, other than the Super Bowl? Okay. I can't remember what year it was.
The obvious.
Okay. It was against the 49ers when Vernon Davis had that catch right by the goal line and Cam just obliterated him.
Yeah.
That Cam was my favorite player by far because on that team is like you had Earl, you had Sherm, you had Bennett and those other guys, and they were all crazy. But Cam was this quiet guy, but he was I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, Walter, but he was like the unquestioned leader, I think, of that defense, wasn't he?
I mean, we had a bunch of leaders though. I mean, Cam was Cam. I mean, from a physicality standpoint. I mean, really, it was defensive line. I mean, the defensive line had a lot of. I mean, they were the more veteran group of the whole defense. I mean, you had guys that were 8 to 10 years within the league in that capacity. That was kind of really overseeing stuff. Big Red and Me Bain, Cliff. Guys of that caliber. But yeah, I mean, Cam's silent assassin. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when he blew up Vernon Davis on that play, because
do you remember seeing that?
I remember seeing it was one of the best hits I've ever seen in football, Brad, to your point, because I thought initially it was helmet to helmet. I thought he knocked him out. He knocked him out.
It was legit.
No, he knocked him out. It was
savage, though.
With his shoulder to his chest.
Yeah.
I've never seen a man knocked out, not getting hit in the head.
Yeah. I think it was such a vicious hit where the ref just had to throw the flag. He just had to throw the flag because it was too vicious. He's like, it has to be head to head.
Then there's something there.
But being a Seattle Seahawks fan, but being a Seattle Seahawks fan in Southern California, when those 2 teams were the cream of the crop in the league, those games, I loved them, and I just loved that hit, man. That just I'll remember that forever, man.
Vernon Davis does too.
So hey guys, he does too. Man, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't. I don't know, but it's going to live in perpetuity because we all do. Hey, Ben, before we go, man, that was a quick hour. Tell everybody what you're doing now, how the 12s can support you, if anything, if you have any events coming up, or because that's what so many of the people that watch this show love to know what guys are doing today. I'd like to know you're doing well or doing anything foundation-wise or nonprofit-wise that they can support.
Yeah, well, thanks to 12s, man, for the support over the years. The reason why I'm still here, I talked about it before, my wife being from Seattle has me still in Seattle. But also, as Walt and all of us know, Dave, us former Seahawks, man, we love staying put. We're all from all over the place, and we come here and we find an affinity with the fans, with the 12s, with the community. And that's what makes it special for me. After I finished, I went back to law school. So I'm a lawyer here in Seattle at a law firm, Hillis Clark, Martin & Peterson, a firm downtown doing real estate law, some business law, helping guys do different things. Most recently, I've been elected the president of our former players, NFLPA former players chapter here. And so I really would love some help from the Seahawks and different events that we have going on. We're trying to implement, more recently, I guess, coming up, we're trying to do like a Thanksgiving feeding here in Pacific Northwest in Seattle. Maybe a toy drive during Christmas. So our November and December will be packed with all kinds of stuff supporting guys with their current events, former players and current players too. So look forward to hearing information. Dave, I'll make sure I pass along to you when we have these events, and having that support and volunteers help us to make these events be a blast for the families that we're supporting, the kids that we're supporting. It would be fun. So I like that, I'm here still giving out to the community, but also helping guys do it collectively too, because we all have great things we're doing. But, we can have a larger impact when we all come together and do it as a group. So look forward to that coming up in November and December.
Yeah. I'll share this. I've been in leadership of the NFLPA now for 7 years. This is my second term as president in Orange County. And and I sit on the former players advisory board. I help all 4 chapters here in California. A big thing we have going this year, Ben, I'm going to be reaching out to you, and the community needs to know about this. It's called Basket of Hope, and they do it every year at the Super Bowl host city. Kurt Warner's involved. Coach Dungy is the ambassador. I mean, he is like the guy that leads this. This year, we're doing Super Basket of Hope. We are convening in St. Louis, where this all started with Kurt Warner 15 years ago and a bunch of guys. And we are building 7,000 baskets and 7,000 totes to be shipped out by FedEx to every city that hosts a team. So Seattle will be getting totes that you guys will be able to deliver to kids in hospitals. And if you've never done it, I've done it for 4 years in a row. They've asked me to be the ambassador this year for the next 2 Super Bowls. And so I'll be reaching out to you to get you involved with the local hospital, to get the totes out to you, to get some former players as part of the chapter, to have a great community event. And I will tell you, when you walk into a room with other NFL guys, when you walk into a room, we make a difference. But to see these kids forget where they're at and why they're there for just the time we're there, and be able to give them some, they're really nice. They're like $600. I mean, it's like, these aren't little trinkets. I mean, this is a nice gift. But more important is your presence. And we're going to be doing this throughout the country this year. And I'm so looking forward to being a part of it. And I'll be talking to you about it and getting your chapter involved for sure. So, we do a lot of good stuff. Brad, we're hanging out in Orange County, right?
Yeah, we sure
That's
are.
right.
Go Hawks, man.
Yeah. Hey, Wild Goose this Sunday, 1:00. We take on the Buccaneers. We didn't even get to talk about the Buccaneers. Who cares? We're going to beat them. We're at home. We're catching our stride. I'll tell you what, and I think you guys can all agree, we need to figure out this home deal.
Home field, yeah.
It used to be an automatic, it is the Buccaneers. They are a good team. They've really gotten, they've really gotten.
Yeah, it'll be a good challenge for us.
We need this. Yes, this is a big win, and we get a chance to break it down because we're already over in an hour. I really don't care. I don't even think. Well, actually, we are on some TV channels, so we have to be careful. We have to stay to this hour. But anyhow, we'll see you at the Wild Goose. Are you gonna be there Sunday?
I can't this weekend because my buddy from college is 50th birthday, so I said I'd be out there for that. So I'm leaving to go out there this weekend.
Fair enough. All right, you get reprieve next week. We'll see you there. Walt,
you only turned 50
once,
right?
with you, bro?
Just in the thick of football right now.
That's
We
what
start
they say.
league this week, so yeah, just getting ready for that right now.
Oh,
where do you coach at, Walter?
Well, you guys have just been beating everybody up.
West Covina High School.
So,
West Covina High
School? West Covina High School.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It Ben. Okay, I don't care about that. All right, this is funny because Walt, when we first started this, he was coaching like golf.
I was coaching
or
golf,
something,
yeah.
And he's a good golfer. Yeah, and he's a good golfer, but he's coaching golf. And then he coaches girls flag football. All right, well, it's football-ish, right? Mm-hmm. And then he comes on the show and goes, yeah, we're working on blitz packages. It's high school girls football. And he's working on blitz packages, and like his team's like trouncing all the other teams, right? And when I asked him, so what do you get actually like coach football? Well, I don't know. And then he goes, well, I'm coaching softball with my wife, Tiff. So last season, he coached softball.
In the spring, yeah.
And finally, he's coaching football.
Finally got
hey, there we go.
Yeah. Finally. Yeah.
Finally
so anyhow.
I mean, it's 7 days a week still.
That's why.
That's why I never wanted to coach football, because I mean, even high school, it's 7 days. I mean, that's why I can't go to the Wild Goose. We got
it's a grind.
Coaches meetings from 1 to 4.
Wow.
It's a grind.
Yeah.
Hey, take it from the goose. Just take it from the goose. You're good. Hey guys. Hey, follow us. We you didn't even talk about all the cool stuff. Like, man, we got some cool football sign when we were out there in Arizona by my buddy Ben and Trufant and ET. We've got flags that we're going to be giving away. But the only way we're going to give them away to you is if you follow us. So you got to follow us on Hawk Tawk 12. That's Instagram. That's Facebook, and that's YouTube. Hawk Tawk 12. Follow us, and we're going to pick somebody to win some stuff in the coming shows. We're trying to get to 2,000 followers on Facebook. We're like 5 away, but we really need that YouTube growth. And we just signed a deal where we're going to stream on Roku and all the other streaming events. They're going to start carrying our show. So we're having fun. I hope you guys keep following us. Ben, thanks for joining us, brother.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Brad, the Destroyer, appreciate you. And I love you, Walt.
Hey, had a great time.
Hey, that's it for the show.
Go Hawks.
All right, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.